The run game for the Minnesota Vikings just hasn't lived up to not even the hype. It just hasn't been good at all this entire season. I mean, Alexander Mattison, who he signed that 2-year deal, like $2 million per year or something like that, hasn't even had a 100-yard rushing game. The most he's had in a game so far was against the Carolina Panthers, where he ran for 95 yards. Oh, and by the way, doesn't even have a rushing touchdown this season. Yes, we do have one rushing touchdown, and we need to fix that. Okay, our offensive line has been doing a great job the last couple of weeks protecting Kirk Cousins, creating these holes for Cam Akers and Alexander Mattison to run through, okay? And I really like what I'm seeing out of Cam Akers. I'm not so much on the Alexander Mattison of being our franchise starting running back going forward. I really do think there's a chance that Cam Akers beats Alexander Mattison for that starting role and becomes the guy for our Minnesota Vikings. But we still have to figure out what we're going to do at that running back position. With the trade deadline coming up, I went and scoured the internet to find some realistic trades that could happen for the Minnesota Vikings, and I came across one familiar name, Dalvin Cook. Okay, yes, New York Jets haven't really used him at all, averaging like 2 yards or something like that per carry. There's a chance that he could end up back in Minnesota, back in the purple and gold, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. I would like it. I think a lot of fans would enjoy having Dalvin Cook back. I think some fans are like, no. He wanted out of the building. We didn't want to pay him his contract and stuff, so that's why we got rid of him. We didn't need to re-sign him and yada, yada, yada. I want to move forward from Dalvin Cook, and I understand that point as well because Dalvin hasn't looked the same this entire season. It just hasn't happened. So Dalvin Cook is a potential trade target. The Jets are open to trading Dalvin, and I think they only signed him for the uncertainty of what Breece Hall was going to be, right? Coming off that ACL tear just a year ago, how was he going to perform this season? Well, he picked up right where he left off. So they are realizing that it's time to move on from Dalvin Cook. He only has, I think, 2 more offensive snaps than their third-string running back, Michael Carter, which isn't good, especially when Dalvin Cook is a 4-time Pro Bowl running back. Okay, so Dalvin Cook could be a trade target, and this article dives through it and on exactly why Dalvin would be a realistic opportunity or a realistic target for the Vikings before the trade deadline. It said there were probably quite a few fans whose eyes lit up when they read the rumors that former Minnesota Vikings star running back Dalvin Cook was going to be available through trade from the New York Jets. I'm not sure their asking price. I guarantee you it wouldn't be that much just because Dalvin really hasn't done anything this season. So his trade, his trade capital or you understand, isn't the greatest. Like, it isn't the best right now. So you probably have to trade only like a third, maybe a 4th round pick to get Dalvin Cook back, which I'd be okay with doing, but at the same time, we might need that trade pick. And yeah, Dalvin Cook, when I seen that the Jets were open to trading him, I instantly thought, bring him back to Minnesota. He hasn't had a great season. Let's see what he can do back in our offense where our run game hasn't been great at all this season. Maybe he can add a little bit more juice because he's familiar with the offense and maybe can get going. Maybe be better than what Alexander Mattison has been this season, even though we still have Cam Akers. Maybe we look to move on from Mattison. I'm not really sure what's going to happen. But then it finishes up with saying, Cook hasn't looked like the running back he used to be. We talked about that. But the Minnesota rushing attack this year is pathetic, okay, without him. It is so bad that the Vikings are the only team in the National Football League that has yet to score a rushing touchdown this season. I do believe that is false. No, that is true because I read that wrong. It was we scored our first touchdown in the first quarter of the season this week. I forgot it wasn't a rushing touchdown. So we don't have a rushing touchdown this season. So we need some firepower in that backfield. Something a little bit, with a little bit more juice back there, like maybe Dalvin Cook. Now, averaging only 2.8 yards per carry, Cook has moved behind Breece Hall on the depth chart and is only 2 offensive snaps ahead of Michael Carter. Now, if the Jets are serious about trading him, they may need to eat some of his $7 million salary this season, which is great news for us. If we end up trading for Dalvin Cook and force the Jets to pay the majority of that, maybe like $5 million or something, then it's totally worth it, especially because, like this says, Dalvin Cook is set to become a free agent this season, but could be on the inexpensive side to bring back. Although the combination of Alexander Mattison and Cam Akers are doing their best, the experiment hasn't been good for the Minnesota Vikings, and I can definitely attest to that. It hasn't been good at all. It just doesn't seem explosive enough. It doesn't seem like they have that get up and go. Alexander Mattison, I don't like the way he runs straight up and down, follows his blockers, doesn't look to be shifty at all, where Cam Akers looks like a starting running back. I really like what I see out of Cam Akers. If it were me, if I was a head coach, Cam Akers is going to be starting going forward the rest of the season because he looks better. He has more juice. He's more aggressive. He wants to make things happen, where Madison's just going to do what the play says. You run to this hole. Okay, I'm going to run to that hole and not cut back. Where Cam Akers is like, okay, I'll run that side. But if it's clogged up, I'm going to bounce it out to the right or bounce it out to the left, and we're going to make something happen. I'm going to try to make a play for this team. So bringing Dalvin Cook back, I think would be a good idea, just to see if we can get that running back room going a little bit more. We would have to part ways with one of these running backs, because we have Alexander Mattison, Ty Chandler, Cam Akers, Kene Nwangwu, but Kene Nwangwu is mainly the kick returner. So I don't really see him or moving on from him. Maybe we move on from Ty Chandler. His trade capital would probably be a little bit bigger or a little bit more pristine than Alexander Mattison, just because Ty Chandler is a younger player, still has that motor. I like what I seen out of him during preseason, but this is the regular season, so it's different. But we need to find some way to get that rushing attack going. We need to find a way to get into the end zone, get a rushing touchdown for once. I mean, we're going into week 8 and we don't have a rushing touchdown. That's crazy. That's pathetic. That's our Minnesota Vikings running game. So, Bress, I think bringing Dalvin Cook back would be realistic, and I am all for it, especially if he's all for it and wants to come back and cook it up, because we definitely could use the help, and I think he would make this offense that much more explosive, especially if we don't have Justin Jefferson until a couple more weeks. So you guys can let me know your thoughts. Do you want Dalvin Cook back in the purple and gold? Do you want to keep him away, find somebody else, or trade for a different position out on that trade market? You guys let me know in the comment section below. Drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It'd be much appreciated. Also, become a channel member by hitting that join link below. It would also be much appreciated. Have a great rest of your night, folks, and Skol Vikes.